Thank you so much for joining us. For today's panel discussion, we have three amazing experts. The first is Dwayne Roebuck. He is a recognized expert in technology within cannabis and the traditional retail industry. He works with thousands of reseller businesses in North America to supply them with the latest hardware products and innovations. Blue Star partners with enterprise-level hardware and software solutions along with seed-to-sale providers to maintain track and trace compliance. In his role, Dwayne strategically connects manufacturers such as Zebra Technology, Elo, Star Micronics, LG, Hikvision, and others to cannabis software providers to assist in development and demo equipment as well as channel strategies. Although Blue Star does not supply directly to licensed operators, Dwayne serves as a trusted advisor to organizations by educating on the importance of purpose-built equipment and technology and introducing them to certified reseller partners. Next up, we have Eric Malmed. He is a member of the Zebra Technologies product management team with subject matter expertise in RFID technology, and he has the responsibility for Zebra's fixed RFID readers, RFID sled, integrated RFID handhelds, and RFID antennas. He has been instrumental to the successful development and launch of Zebra's RFID data capture solutions and has helped oversee the continuous modernization of the RFID DCS product portfolio. Last up, we have Scott Denholm, who is the Chief Operating Officer of BrightMap, which is a cannabis seed-to-sale company that focuses on providing immense benefits to their partners using proprietary RFID technology in a way that dramatically reduces labor costs and human error. As a seasoned expert in the world of RFID, Scott brings unparalleled experience to the conversation. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm just going to really hop into the world of RFID before the experts actually get into the nitty gritty. So we're all kind of on the same page. I like to make sure we're all on the same page before we start getting to the questions. So radio frequency identification, also known as RFID technology, is not new. In fact, its origins date back to 1945, where an RFID predecessor was actually invented by Leon Theremin as an espionage device. Nowadays, RFID tech is utilized to prevent theft or identify products, among other purposes. In the cannabis industry, RFID tags are utilized by the Marijuana Enforcement Division in order to track and monitor cannabis growth, transportation, and sales. RFID helps the cannabis industry save time and money, both in tracking and inventory and in supporting timely business decisions. Leveraging the data collected, it is possible for cannabis growers and manufacturers to maintain regulatory compliance, reduce labor costs, improve accuracy in inventory reporting, and improve customer service from end to end. RFID provides a more intelligent method of capturing data by using low-power radio frequency technology. An RFID system can read the information on a tag without requiring line of sight, without a particular orientation, or from short read distances. Tags can be read from a distance without having to touch or disturb a plant. Multiple tags can be read simultaneously, increasing speeds 10 to 15 times faster than using barcodes. Tags are durable against impact and environmental factors like soil. You can locate tags, making it easier and quicker to find misplaced items. And you obviously improve and simplify reporting and compliance processes. For the cannabis industry, RFID offers a unique ability to track and trace current location as well as movement of an item, in this case, plant, buds, or infused products. A basic RFID system includes tags, antennas, readers, and software, which ties the whole system together. An RFID system detects tags affixed to items and reads data encoded on the individual tags. So what can RFID technology and software do for your cannabis business? Well, obviously, our experts are going to talk about that, but in short, it improves tracking, movement, compliance, and expense management. Each plant is assigned a unique ID that follows it all the way to harvest. It tracks plant location, movements, plant dates, harvest dates, strain type, and strain mother. Custom area designation allows room and plant creation, and you always know where your plants are at any given moment. The rooms in a grow facility were carefully designed with purpose and reason, so you have to use that same care when you're setting up your management system. As your plants mature through the stages of life, they move from various care areas. and you get to keep track of every movement from seedling to cured flower. Regulation of cannabis looks very different in a very regulated market. A class-leading system like this will include integrations with all regulatory committees and government agencies to ensure that all transactions occurring are compliant and tracked accordingly. From nutrients to labor, there are many costs we know associated with growing cannabis. When you track all of these costs associated with the plant as it journeys from seed to flower, you get to track this and actually lower your costs. In addition to that, we all know about the accounting. So that all comes into play. What is it? 1080E? Is that what is it? I don't remember what it's called, but all of that works into RFID when it comes to tracking and expense management. So I believe this is our last slide. We all know we need tags, antennas, readers, software, and integration. We talked about that. So for states regulated by metric, plant and package tags are provided to each licensee by metric. Plant or batch tags are the devices that transmit location and other data to the RFID readers and software. And readers process the data encoded on the RFID plant tags, such as location, unique ID, growing conditions, and more. Readers come in both handheld and fixed form factors and are often used in combination. Then we have antennas, which I think are pretty self-explanatory. Lastly, we have the RFID software platform, which visualizes the data that you're collecting. For the cannabis industry, the software platform will also automatically send compliance data directly to the state agency. RFID is sophisticated, it's modern, and it's going to save your business time and money. Your best bet, though, is to obviously find an integration partner for initial analysis, setup, and ongoing technical support throughout the entire process. And now we're going to take it away. I believe Mark is going to actually handle Q&A. Is that correct?
Well, I'll handle the talking. You're the brains and I'm the mouth of the operation, right, Shawnee?
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
And good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on what time zone you are in. I actually wanted to start by recognizing that it's Veterans Day. For me, I might just burst into tears, but I'm an immigrant, a refugee. I came here when I was 10 years old from a place where I was beaten up for being a Jew in first grade. And so, in some ways, at this particular point in our country's history, it seems worth underlining that we can't take for granted what we have here, even such as it is at the moment. And there are people who give up their lives to protect the right of those of the rest of us to do what we do and to live the life that we live. And actually, I think the veteran that we have on with us is Scott. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Scott, where'd you serve?
I was in the United States Navy. I was on a decommissioned ship. It's actually part of a reef now called the USS America. It was an aircraft carrier.
Well, even in its retirement, it continues to give by being a good fishing spot. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Scott, thank you for your service. And for everybody else who's tuning in now. And we'll have, I expect thousands of views over the coming weeks and months because this is evergreen. Thank you. Thank you to everybody who served. With that, I wanted to ask, hey, can we use RFID to track election ballot? No, just kidding.
Yeah, we're not getting into that.
So RFID is important. Shawnee told us why. What's the latest, guys? And we'll hit up each of you. What are you seeing? We got people on here with skin in the game in different ways. Some are applicants, some are future applicants, some are consumers who are very interested about the future of the industry. So what should they know about what's going on with RFID?
If you're cool, I'll kick it off on that. So, first of all, thank you guys for allowing us to be on this platform. And, definite shouts out to any active or former military that may be out there. Definitely thank you for your service. I have two brothers, one that retired from the Navy, another that was in the Air Force, and I have a niece who's presently in the Navy now. So we are definitely a military family, and we respect those who fight for our rights, to be able to have these elections and, for people to be able to express themselves. So thank you. As it relates to RFID within the cannabis industry, I think, most of us on this call and those listening are probably aware of it as it relates to the grow side of things. And for longest, that's pretty much where RFID started and stopped. Recently, I've been seeing where, RFID is being utilized. I believe last week it was announced that, one of the dispensaries, Urban Leaf, is moving to RFID within the dispensary. We're seeing RFID solutions for delivery, and it really helps, in addition to merely, track and trace. It helps from the perspective of operational efficiency, the ability to do, very quick inventory, control, to see, if there's product on the shelves that could be expiring, and then, so that owners don't have to discard or discount, flower or any product that may be close to expiring. They can pull that, where it might be in the back to front. And then, loss prevention. This is a very heavy cash industry. And so, it's amazing, how many items, tend to evolve and grow feet, and find themselves walking out. So, I think, if it makes sense for your operation, RFID can be a huge operational efficiency tool to allow you to repurpose your employees and to do everything so much quicker and efficiently than you could manually. Scott, you seeing anything? You're on mute. I think you're on mute, Scott.
I was muted and I had to unmute myself. Sorry about that. So I would say, going back 20 years, I would tell you, and being in every kind of industry imaginable using this technology, the thing to keep in mind is that the use of the technology is designed to do auto data capture of information that you really don't want to have to manually enter. Okay. Human beings are notoriously bad at dealing with repetitive, redundant tasks. That's just the nature of who we are. So by using RFID and saying, what can you do with RFID? Well, what I would say is look at every process and say, where am I using things to bring into my facility or ship from my facility, or where I have to manually count? Anywhere that you have a person entering and doing data entry, you're going to have errors. So using RFID in those cases helps eliminate those user errors, helps automate and speed up the process, and makes everything cleaner. So, what you were talking about, Dwayne, with automated inventory, that's absolutely the first fundamental piece. But, bringing stuff in through a doorway, through receiving portals or through handhelds, being able to put stuff on the stock floor and know what room it's in. Hey, this left the back room and this went onto the store shelf, or out of the back room onto the storefront. And, did it go onto a shelf? I mean, all of these things are applications. I would say the one thing that the marijuana industry needs to understand is, first and foremost, no matter what you think, you are still part of the same retail industry that every other industry is dealing with. So you can't really look at the marijuana industry in that perspective and see it as being different. Whether you're a dispensary or you're a retail store, you're dealing with inventory and employees like every other aspect of the inventory. So you really need to use that technology, that auto data capture capability, to eliminate errors wherever you got people interacting with product, and put people where they're good at dealing with other people.
Yeah, Scott, I would add on top of that, I think you hit on the fundamentals of RFID, but I think there are some things that RFID can also add to the customer experience that maybe people don't think of when they think of auto data capture. So if you think of having, jars of product on a wall, and those walls or those shelves are RFID enabled, and when somebody goes to pull one of the jars off and they want to explore the product, one of the things you can do is you can tell that product has been pulled off the wall, and then have some sort of interactive experience that's provided to the customer. Maybe it's on a video screen or a touch screen or something that's right in front of them. It can provide them more information about the product, maybe where it was grown, the whole process, and all those pieces of information that have been captured along the way. So when you guys are thinking about, what can RFID do for me, it's not just, it can track inventory, it can do all of those things that Scott and Dwayne talked about, but it can also be a supplement to the customer experience and an enhancer to the customer experience as well.
Thank you, guys. So in terms of somebody who is going to be working on applications, on a cannabis license application, as an example, and consider we've got several different, and I'll talk about Illinois because that's where I'm based, although obviously the implications of this are worldwide. But just to use Illinois as an example, we've got dispensary licenses, we've got craft grow, which are small cultivation facilities, we've got infusion, and we've got transport. And of course, transport means from, business, B2B transport, but ultimately we're also going to have, B2C transport, in other words, delivery. Maybe in the same order as the last question, we'll start with Dwayne. But so as people are working on applications or people who are getting licenses and need to jump right in, sort of talk through each of those categories and where somebody would need to start, why they should care. And, I guess maybe start by helping me understand, is this something sort of would be nice or a must have? I mean, it seems like there would be relatively few businesses that wouldn't do this. So is it a matter of doing it or just finding the right technology partner? We'll start with Dwayne.
I think it's a little bit of both. You want to have the right technology partner, but, just being fully transparent to the audience, this is not an inexpensive solution. So, it may not be something that's, even though it will make you substantially more operationally efficient, it could be, harder to digest for some, businesses versus others. Once you, in my opinion, once you get a certain size, and let's say, just to pick a number, typically I'd say around 4 or 5, dispensaries. On the grow side is different depending upon the state, because, if you're in a metric state, then, you're required to have, some sort of RFID, solution out there. I just found out the other day, Virginia, even though they're not a metric state, they operate the same way. So, on the grow side, things are a little different. In terms of, dispense and delivery, you're looking at, does it financially make sense to do that? For some of the larger ones that are more consumer experience based, I would say, for, some of the reasons Eric pointed out, you do want to have that because, it can trigger so many other, things, within there in addition to, just merely track and trace. From a, like now that, at least, and I don't want to get anyone upset, but it appears we're going to have a new administration coming in January. And so based upon the way that they've been talking, they seem to be very friendly to this industry and looking to, decriminalize or legalize it. And so, what I would say is, start thinking about your longer term goals, because, if you're, a dispensary that's planning on going, full seed to sell, and you've got multi-state, locations in the near future, you'll be able to work, as Scott said, just like a traditional retail business. And so, I always tell people to educate yourselves and make the proper investment the first time, because, a solution like this, while it isn't inexpensive, you can repurpose your employees in ways, that they service the customer, that your competition can't. And so, that I'll stop right there and let Scott and Eric, weigh in and add, what they see.
Okay. Well, kind of picking up off of where Dwayne was talking about, the first thing I would say is you got to look at the fundamentals of keeping your business open, right? The fundamental things that you have to have as a business owner is you got to be licensed, you got to be open, and you got to have products on your shelf, right? If you don't have those things, you don't have a business to run. So, making sure that you can meet those first two criteria is critical. So you, as a licensee, you've spent enormous amounts of money, and the variation from state to state, and I've worked in 15 different marijuana states, it could be anywhere from $2,500 to get a license to over $50,000, $60,000 to get a license, depending on where you're at, right? But you have to protect that license. So the first thing is trying to make sure that you're appeasing the powers that be, making sure that the regulatory agencies are happy. And the thing that is critical about that is knowing where your stuff is. That's it. It really comes down to that. I don't care if you're a metric state or a biotrack state or an Akerna state. I have met with literally every one of these states' regulatory agencies at some point in my past life. And I will tell you right now, the really fundamental thing is they just want you to know where your stuff is, and they want you to be able to prove it. So where does RFID step into that? Well, I also know, working in 10 years in this industry, that people have a very difficult time shipping product correctly to each other. And it's a significant retail problem, but because the technology is so lacking in this industry compared to other retail operations, because of regulatory issues, we all know them. But I would say using RFID to make sure that you know where your stuff is going. What left the building at what time? Where did it get into what vehicle? How did that vehicle go? Where did that vehicle track to? Where did it get dropped off? Right? Quickest way to lose your license is have your stuff on a home delivery go to the park as opposed to going to somebody's house. That's going to cost you a license, right? Or at least a heavy fine. So I'd say that shipping accuracy and receiving accuracy and delivering accuracy are key critical components, not just for yourself and your own inventory management, but protecting your license. And again, if you can automate people out of that process, because I'm an ADHD guy, in all honesty, I love to transpose numbers. I've never met two numbers I don't want to get backwards. So, understanding that that's the nature of what we are, I would really focus on use the technology, right? Even if you're just using a barcode scan, but utilize technology to help you control what you're shipping, what you're receiving, and where that product's going.
Yeah, and I think, what I'm going to say may be contradictory to my role at Zebra, but one of the things that I'll say is from a system perspective, I think the best thing that you could do is choose the right partner and choose the right tag. The tag is really the key component to the RFID system. It's not necessarily the reader. I mean, the readers are great, and I'm proud to say we make really great readers, but we also make really great tags. And there are a lot of great tags out in the industry, and the tags have really come a long way in enabling this use case. So I would say that to Scott's point and Dwayne's point about protecting your license and protecting yourself, I think the easiest way to do that is to choose the right partner and choose a partner that's done this before and knows what they're talking about.
At what point should people be talking to you guys? So if I'm working on a cannabis license application anywhere, I guess, in the world, I want to know how I might build this into my business plan, my security plan, my training plan, my inventory plan. and I should have started with the inventory plan, but I wanted to make the point that there's a lot more to this than that, as sort of Scott talked about. So, if I'm looking for help, if I'm looking for information, if I'm looking to figure out how to build this into my planning and application, who do I talk to among you guys, and when, or any of you, or where do I get started? Or, do I really not talk to you guys until I have, money and a license? How does that work? Dwayne, we'll start with you.
Okay, I would say as early in the planning process as you can, because keeping it real, a lot of these guys spend a ton on, especially on the growth side, on lights and hydroponic systems and things of that nature, and understandably so. But then, when it comes down to the compliance piece of it, people that's where they want to try to skimp. And so, my contribution to this industry, because I'm a huge advocate and want to see this not only continue but to grow. And so my contribution has always been where I'll speak to anyone, and as it was said in my intro, I can't sell you anything. I can't. So there's no harm in talking, and to at least try to help steer people towards the right solution. Now, what ends up happening is I'm probably gonna refer you to someone like Scott, because those are the guys that actually do the implementation. They have the software, so they're going to be equally, if not more, critically a trusted advisor, and be able to tell you what's going to work and what isn't. Now, if we get to a point where, you're having issues or something like that, I can definitely engage my man, Eric. He picks up the phone, and he'll jump on and help wherever he can. But, I would say, Scott, when would be the ideal time for those guys to reach out to you and Brian?
Well, the first question is, the first thing I would tell anybody, right, is I want to help and everybody get a return on investment, okay? Because that's critical, right? I've had people come in and say, listen, we want to outfit a 500,000 square foot readers or facility with readers, right? And I'm like, okay, well, that's probably going to cost you about $2 million. You ready to spend all that money? And then they have a heart attack, right? So I would say, let's start at the very basics. What I would really tell everybody is, before you call somebody like me or anybody in the RFID world, is understand what you're looking for, because we'll all, excuse the language, but I'm going to say we'll all do a show up and throw up. Okay, we'll just walk in your facility and share RFID stories and tell you all the different things that technology can do and all these things, and then you're leaving more confused, or we leave, and then you're more confused than you started out. What I would tell you is, look at your processes and find out where all my mistakes happening, or at least get yourself a Pareto chart or something, but get yourself a good functional understanding of where your mistakes are happening and where your cost centers are. And then we can go in and have real conversations about how we can save you money, what we can do to put a return on investment. Because as an RFID company, as a company that's doing supply chain logistics and all those things, our bread and butter is often making you happy and saving you money, right? That's the way it comes down to. And if I can look at you and say, I can get your return on investment in 60 days, I'm really happy. And because that's what I want to happen. So you're going to find things. So I would say you want to call, if you want to call and just go, okay, I'm in a metric state and I need to do compliance. Okay, that's great. We have a real simple solution, real basic for that. That's fine. But if you're really wanting to do the supply chain stuff, you really don't want to call before you have a license. You want to call after you have a license, after you got your facility set up, while you're training your people, and then you can look at how to automate those processes. Eric, you got something to add to that?
Yeah, I think you guys hit it right on the head. I'm definitely here to support all of you guys. I think Dwayne and Scott are the right people to engage first, and then if anybody has questions about can RFID be used for this application or this application, or if you have a question about a specific product or a feature on that product, I can certainly help there.
And I've gotten this question a lot as I posted about having this program, and I don't want to sort of beat a dead horse. I realize that the application writer may not be the key audience, but are there resources online? That is, if somebody wants to, again, if they're not at the point where they can engage profoundly with you, but they want to understand how this might be included in the various parts of their application. Is there anything online, any kind of toolkit or anything sort of in one place? If not, maybe we should do something. Dwayne, what do you think? Is there something we can?
I don't know of any, one place online, where I could steer someone to easily, understand the technology and the benefits. What I would say is, link up with me on LinkedIn or LeafWire or something like that. And, at the very least, we can have a couple conversations. I don't believe that there are any stupid questions. This is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. No different than 5 years ago when I started, getting into this industry. A lot of the things that seem so commonplace to those, in the cannabis industry, that have been in there for years, I was just, dumbfounded. So, I feel like this, iron sharpens iron. And so, we can have a conversation and we can talk. And, like I said, I can't sell you anything. So don't feel like, like there's, something in it other than educating you and hopefully helping you make the right decision. So again, you make that investment one time and you invest in something that can grow as your business grows, versus just buying something cheap and then there's really no support behind it or anything like that.
Scott, Eric, any other resources people should keep in mind other than yourselves?
Yeah, there's a couple places I would look. AIM Global, AIM Global, they do a lot with RFID, a lot of the standards. I'd also look at the brand of RFID that's used in the metric states is ISO, the International Standards Organization, 18,000 Part 6B is the functional spec for the technology and how it works. If you go around, you can Google RFID, UHF RFID, or it's also referred to as EPC, the electronic product code EPC Gen 1 Class 2. Those are some resources that you might want to look at. And to Dwayne's point, you need to be you need to do a little research. Again, I don't want you to show up and throw up. That's going to get you in trouble because there is UHF technology, there's HF technology, there's microwave technology, there's passive RFID, there's active RFID. I can't tell you how many conversations I have where people go, I need me some RFIDs. How much do they cost? And, you just face palm and go, okay, where do we start? So, understanding what you want to accomplish from the technology. Okay. If you go, I'm just trying to read a couple inches away. Well, that's an HF technology. You just have to understand what you're trying to accomplish and how you're trying to accomplish it. AIM Global. There's a couple other, and I will give these back to Mark and Shawnee and Dwayne afterwards. There's a couple of reference websites that you guys can take a look at to get a little bit more research and understanding.
What about RFID Journal Live?
RFID Journal is another good resource. They are primarily focused on UHF technology. That's the EPC Gen 1 Class 2 stuff. That's what's used in the metric states, right? That's an open, and to be clear, it's an open standard technology, part of ISO. So anybody can use it, anybody can read it.
Hey, what is this, Mark? You throwing the metric guy underhand, the former metric guy you serving him underhand softballs, huh? You know, people are probably like, wow, he knows a lot about metric. There's a reason why, folks.
Eric, anything to add on that?
Yeah, so I think those are all great resources that you guys have talked about. The one other one or two other ones I would point out is the RAIN Alliance, the RAIN RFID Alliance, which is a consortium of companies that have really come together to what I'll say popularize UHF RFID. So when you hear RAIN RFID, it's primarily talking about UHF RFID, and we've done that. And Zebra's a key partner in the RAIN Alliance. We've really done that to get the name or get the technology out there, similar to what you guys would call Wi-Fi, right? You don't go into the hotel and you ask for your 802.11 ACBGN password, right? You ask for your Wi-Fi password. It's just kind of the same thing we're trying to do with RAIN. So that's a good one. And also if you go to GS1, that's a really great resource. So there are a bunch of great resources out there. Some really good YouTube videos that I've seen as well, actually.
Can you guys talk a little bit? There's been a lot of, and I think we need to wrap up relatively soon because we've got a ton of great questions, and I want to thank everybody for asking for such great engagement, and we'll make sure to get to you. But can you guys sort of, as we wrap up, talk about just the general concept? Metric has come up a lot. In this industry, everybody throws the concept of seed to sale around. When we talk about seed to sale, what does that mean to, again, each of you? And maybe we'll switch up and start with Eric this time. But can you sort of talk about RFID? And I understand we've alluded to multiple pieces of this multiple times, but just within the context of seed to sale as a concept everybody sort of talks about, where does RFID fit in and how?
Yeah, so for me, seed to sale, I see traceability. I see the customer knowing what they are getting, where it was grown, how it was taken care of, how long it's spent in each care unit. Really just the visibility into what they're buying and knowing that they're buying and getting a quality product. That's from a customer perspective. I guess from a dispensary and a growing perspective, it's the compliance part, being able to track the different steps along the way and the inventory and knowing where everything is, throughout the entire growing process is kind of what it is for me. But I definitely see the ability to offer the customer, more of those insights, into what they're getting.
For me, it's the most overused statement that is the most misdirected, misaligned, and misunderstood and misrepresented statement out there. Pretty much every time I hear the term seed to sale, because the problem with the term is it doesn't really, it tries to capture everything in this generic form. Other industries like agriculture use it, farm to fork, things like that. But it really doesn't capture what's really going on. It depends on who you're talking to, right? Because seed to sale, there is no seed to sale if you're a retailer. There's my back door to sale. Seed to sale to a grower means, I grew it from a seed to where I actually ship it out to the door as a B2B offering, not a B2C offering, right? And for the most part, most growers don't even use seeds anyway. So there should be a clone to sale, or, so and realistically, it's just this, generic verb. What I would tell you is understand your business, right? And understand what you want, what you're trying to accomplish. Again, there's terms like Six Sigma and being a green belt. I was on the path to being a green belt for Six Sigma back in my former life. But understanding your processes, understanding what you're trying to do, trying to get yourself ISO certified if you wanted to do that, or getting it's just getting your processes under control. So you can throw any terminology you want at it, but it really is, it's lean manufacturing is where everybody wants to go.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that both Eric and Scott have said. I love the clone the sale because he's absolutely right. Where I see it is, long term bringing this industry to where agriculture is headed. From a point where the specific lot, they're keeping up with pesticides and things like that because once this is decriminalized or legalized, whatever you want to call it. But once this becomes a mainstay, then, you're going to have product that are going to be shipping all over the country, potentially, into different countries. And so, how do you make it more efficient? So, guys like Scott who like to, read the numbers backwards, you don't get that. And all of a sudden you're not compliant. So, and then I look at other industries that are related to the marijuana industry, part of cannabis, which is hemp, where, for hemp growers in the cannabis industry, the biomass doesn't come back. But some of the hemp growers, especially organic hemp, those guys want the biomass back because, it can be utilized for hempcrete, textiles, a whole bunch of things. So you really want to make sure, what you're sending is what you're getting back. And in terms of, once your organization, gets large enough, it's like, why barcode scan or manually scan everything in as it goes from the grow to the process to retail. And then, once you get into, in addition to that, I've seen where, some growers want to know, not only if the plant is moved, to a certain area, another room, not only will you know that was moved, but, in addition to the camera systems, if you utilize RFID for employee badges, you can know exactly which employee moved it at what time. And it works that way. I believe Eric alluded to the smart shelves. So, imagine within a dispensary, if you've got these smart shelves, and most of the time, the only ones who can touch the product, happens to be, either the cannabis consultant or bud tender, whatever you call them. And so, imagine knowing that Eric took this strain of, whatever out at this time. And that strain never appeared in the point of sale system, so and it never went back onto the shelf. So, at that point, there's either a learning opportunity or Eric's doing something that he shouldn't be. So there are a number of ways. And, like with some of the delivery solutions, those guys provide people with a certain amount of the most common inventory. And as they get the orders, they're going out there dispatching. So when they come in, you can quickly wand the bag. We're talking within seconds, and exactly, what's been dispersed and what needs to be replenished, that sort of thing. So it's really helping you, and kudos to Eric, because I hadn't even thought about it from the perspective of, a lot of these guys use digital signage and TV screens. So if you want to showcase a brand, what better way to do it than that? As the people pick up, and it could be an empty mason jar or whatever, as they come over there and pick that up, then it plays a video or, it lets them know about the product. So, I think it's really, the very beginning of being able to not only, keep your supply chain tight, and making your employees operationally efficient, but it's also the very beginning of interacting with your customers in a way that you never thought you could before.
One thing I'd like to throw on top of that is just a very quick concept for everybody is what retailers in perishable goods and agriculture space and produce and meat and fish and all that stuff is the two things is number one is first in, first out, FIFO, and FIFO, first expired, first out. And those two things are very, very important to this industry as well, right? You don't want your customers getting stale product, and you don't want your employees just, pouring stuff on top of old stuff, right? Chiba Chews, right? Everyone loves to stack Chiba Chews on top of other Chiba Chews. One at the bottom is probably 6 years old, right? So that, I know that never happens, but that's first in, first out, first expired, first out are two things that RFID really does a good job helping with along those lines.
That's all really, really helpful. I think, what occurs to me as I advise applicants, maybe even in particular, sort of mom and pop and social equity applicants, is, hey, maybe the companies that want shelf space in your dispensary ought to be partnering with you on RFID so that you can highlight their brands. Just like Betty Crocker partners with the grocery store to highlight their brands. So I think this really triggered a lot of thinking, Dwayne. I'm glad that you and Scott and Eric talked about this.
No, I mean, and you're absolutely right. In traditional retail, if you look at, I'm a big fan of Nordstrom because their stores, at least when we were going into stores, they're aesthetically a lot better to deal with than some of the others. But if you look at it, Nike, they'll pay for premium, placement and things like that, and it's no different than what Procter and Gamble and companies like that do it at a Walmart. There's a reason why Tide sits at a certain height level. So I mean that's a very good point there, Mark. As growers are asking these dispensary owners to stock more and more of their product, then it gives you an opportunity to say, hey, for X amount of dollars, we can put you in a premium space and display and, really tell the story about, the product and create brand loyalty. And the other thing to think about, or maybe we don't, is as these become, more, like traditional retail businesses, you're going to have loyalty apps and things like that. And so, this type of technology really can, help with, if Eric or Shani has bought a product that we know, it came back and it had too much pesticides, I can reach directly out to them and alert them, like, hey, bring that product back. We're gonna, take care of you, versus them having to, listen on the news or find out themselves.
All right, great. So we've got a ton of questions. Shawnee, I'm just going to take one little, I'm making a request of you because I'm going to turn this over to you mostly, but can I ask that you conclude on the question of social equity and diversity in the industry that we talk a little bit about, in this way folks who are being asked can think about it a little bit as well, but the diversity of the supply chain and how we can use RFID or even just technology in general and the gains that tech companies are making to promote social equity. I don't know where I'm going with that, but I would love it if you would just, this is a thing I think about. So I would love it if you'd close on that, but I'll shut up and take a breath now. Thank you.
For sure. Cool. So we have quite a few questions that almost sound or have like similar, basically similar ideas. So the first one that I think will knock out about 3 questions is people have questions about state, like state to state. So does BioTrack integrate with RFID technology? If so, what brand tags does BioTrack provide or does BioTrack integrate with? And let me see here. I know there was here it is. As far as RFID label tags go, are they provided by the state or do you have to purchase them yourself elsewhere? So it's a 2-pronged question. Are RFID tags integrated with BioTrack THC? And if so, what brand tags can you use with BioTrack? And then do you purchase your own tags and labels or does the state provide it?
I mean, if you guys are cool, I'll start off and I'm sure Scott will,
we do
take it home.
why don't we do it like we did and start with Dwayne?
Oh, that's cool. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So, to my knowledge, BioTrack does not require RFID, but so the technology itself, it's irrespective of any requirements that are out there, and I know Metric does require RFID, but what is being utilized for theoretically just barely scratches the surface of what you can do. All of the things that we've been talking about can be achieved irrespective of requirements by the state. So it's more geared. What we've been talking about is more geared around operational efficiency and supply chain and things like that. If you're in a Metric state, you're going to get the tags from Metric, of course. And then those are only required within the grow. So, if you want to take it, as through the new term that Scott has come up with, clone to sell, if you want to take it that way, then it's going to require additional tags. And what I would say is that, Zebra, you could work with, Scott and the BrightMap team. Those guys can definitely, get you set up. But Zebra Technologies, and that's why we have them on here, is because these guys are recognized leaders in this industry. And they have, the tags as well as the labels, the RFID labels, and the RFID equipment. And so, they've been doing it for years. If you buy their labels and their printers, it warranties the print head for life. So, they have, different things that, really make it intriguing. So, I would look more at if, depending on how you're using it, your ERP or your point of sale system, if you can, take that data, get some open APIs and connect with some, RFID software, or just get with, it's real easy. Get with Scott, and, him and Brian at BrightMap. They'll, they can take all of those problems away from you.
Yeah, I would tell you that if you back it up at a high level, so I want to be very specific, is, in a metric say it's really clean, right? That you get a multimodal tag. On that tag, you have a human readable number, you have a barcode, and you have the RFID. So it's all built in there, right? If you're in a non-metric state where it's a kernel or BioTrack or anything, you get the serial numbers. Okay, so you get the numbers. You can print those numbers yourself. So whether you're printing a barcode or printing an RFID tag, you can still do that, right? So there's nothing in the world preventing you in non-metric states from using RFID, right? So if I get that print file with those numbers, I can print them off and I can, get you a barcode, get you an RFID barcode printer from Zebra, and you can sit in the back room and print those, right? So there's nothing to stop you from using that technology. If, it's just in metric states, it was required because the state auditors and the inspectors wanted it that way, but primarily because industry people didn't want anybody touching their plants or trying to go stick somebody's hand in the middle of a bunch of plants trying to read a barcode. So, the technology is open standard, anybody can use it and anybody can purchase it.
Well, you guys hit it on the head. I don't know that I have really much to add on top of that to make it, valid. So I'm gonna say these guys did a really great job answering that question.
And we've got a couple more questions in the Q&A, so we could go on to the next one. Danny asks, are there any tools or APIs to integrate RFID data to metric or other state programs?
So I'll take that one, I guess, to start, if that's okay, Scott.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no. So I guess the thing that I would say is, Zebra, we make readers, and to talk to those readers, you need APIs, and we provide SDKs to people like Scott that develop software to talk with our readers. So I think that's where Zebra comes in. We are the data capture portion of this, but it's up to folks like Scott and your other partners to do with that data what they must, and send it where it must go. And so, Scott, that's why I'll turn it over to you if that's cool. But our products do have toolkits online available for download for folks like Scott that are looking to write applications.
Yeah, all the state systems have APIs, right? So, in order for any software company, whether it's me, and there's dozens and up to hundreds if you go into California, you got to scrape them off the bumper like with a putty knife. There's so many of them, right? But the reality is every state system has an API to connect to. And there's a bunch of different endpoints that you can connect to for that data. So you can push data, you can pull data, extract data. The state's regulatory systems have a minimum requirement of what needs to go in there, but there's about a million other things that can go on top of that. It's just like reporting your taxes. There's about a million things you're doing that have nothing to do with the IRS and your money, but they want to know this little subset, and they get really picky if you don't tell them. So, there are APIs out there, though public APIs. All of the metric APIs start with a state number like CO or MT or MD, whatever it is, dash metric or dash API.metric.com. And those are all public APIs. And same thing goes with Akerna and BioTrack in those states. So yes, there are APIs available. It varies from what they'll let you do with that data, but it's up to companies like us to take and extract that data and do something to manipulate it for your benefit.
I just one quick comment, just by way of comedy. Sorry, I love this clone to sale concept. So I just wanted to tell Scott, in particular, here in Illinois, we have a different concept related to that as well. Because in Illinois, medical patients are allowed to grow their own cannabis, but there are no provisions in law or, in fact, in retail to get seeds or clones. So in Illinois, we have the concept of immaculate conception to go along with the clone to sale issue. Sorry, Shawnee, I couldn't resist.
That's okay, Mark. So I have a question from Maxwell Powers. Are there forgive me, I have no idea what these acronyms are there other IoT technologies that are more cost effective but still viable, like BLE?
So I'll start off with that if that's okay. So IoT stands for those of you who don't know, is Internet of Things, and it's really the connected device. I'll be honest with you. RFID, passive RFID, has come a long way in terms of cost, and so when you look at the amount of things that you have to tag, you're talking in the sub 50 cent range, even less than that, depending on your volumes, right? We're talking 12, 10 cent tags, depending on where you get them from. And when you look at BLE, a BLE beacon can be about $5. So when you look at really the technologies that are out there, passive RFID is one of the most cost effective. I would say that people didn't used to think of passive RFID as being an IoT technology, but we are seeing it become more of an IoT technology today. And actually, we have the capability on many of our readers to talk directly to cloud instances, whether it's Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure or even Zebra Savannah. So yeah, I definitely think passive RFID is probably the most cost-effective IoT sensing technology out there on the market today for this use case.
Yeah, I just want to go on back to one thing I had said earlier, and that's it really comes down to your return on investment, right? There's active RFID technologies out there that we can put water temperature sensors in and, chemical sensors and all these other things, and they're about $90 to $100 a pop. And I don't see anybody putting one of those on every single plant. That would be ridiculous. But it really comes down to what you're trying to accomplish in that return on investment, because the cheapest technology is still barcode, right? How do you tabulate pennies of ink on paper? But it doesn't do for you what RFID does. So what I would go back to is, the best answer to that question is, look at what you're trying to accomplish and what it's costing you, and then you can make a determination of, is it cost effective or not? You know, a good ROI is 4 months, right? If I can put together a return on investment on an application in 4 or 5 months, that's good, right? And that's a worthwhile program to invest in. You know, because after that, that's just, you know, hard dollars in your pocket. And there are many, many things you can use RFID to capture that kind of a quick ROI.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I would be curious to even, you know, hear, you know, how the individual with that question will want to use BLE, you know, in this industry. I've seen it, you know, utilized in other industries, and, you know, I'm gonna be honest, I really can't think of a, you know, a pertinent, you know, cost-effective use case, but I'm not in any way, you know, discouraging or poo-pooing on the idea, because who knows, you may have something that's revolutionary that no one else has thought of. So, you know, I would definitely love to have that, you know, conversation, you know, from an IoT perspective. I mean, there's a lot of different devices and sensors, you know, that you could throw at this. Personally, I believe it makes more sense when you look at, you know, once, you know, things, you know, once it's decriminalized or legalized, and then you're shipping product from state to state. And, you know, I think then it becomes critical, you know, as far as, you know, how much humidity and what temperature, you know, you want the product stored at, so that if it has to go across country or something like that, you know, it's at its absolute best. So to me, I think the future, you know, and when we say the future, I think, you know, within the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see all kinds of use cases and, you know, IoT devices, things that come in there, you know, from water conservation and things like that. You know, how are you not harming the environment with the crop? So, you know, who knows? Maybe, you know, in the future, whoever had that question, you know, you might have triggered another one of these for the medical cannabis community, where we, you know, we're talking, you know, how do we make things more environmentally, you know, safe and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. There was one more on Facebook that I did want to address. It was from Tom Pimble. He said, how do you track RFID strength signal in a car, or what tag do you suggest or reader? And can you touch on UWB? I feel like I'm speaking another language.
UWB is ultra wideband. That's ultra wideband. It's 2.4 gigahertz. Yeah. If you don't mind, I'll take that, because I got that question a lot when I was back in my metric days. Was, all right, so understand that you're not going to find a passive RFID technology that's going to be able to be read within a car. Okay, I mean, you might be able to get a handheld or something right up to a window and read to it, but it's a passive RFID. Metal reflects the RF energy, right? That's just how it works. So, you know, inside of a van, if I've got a delivery van and I'm driving down the road, there's no way you're going to read that RFID tag. It's not going to happen. So it's passive. The way it works is that RF energy is from whatever transmission device is emitting it, is absorbed by the antenna on the RFID tag. It turns the chip on. The chip in turn uses that same remaining signal strength to send that information back, whatever that information is. In the metric case, it's a 24-digit alphanumeric number, but it ships it back to it. So you can imagine the minimum amount of energy. I mean, these readers, and I'm stepping on Eric's stuff here, and I don't mean to, but the RFID technology works at the same set of regulations that cell phones work off of. So they can't put out any more energy than a cell phone does, right? So you're looking at a very minimal amount of energy. So, you know, the reality is what you're talking about is called RSS data, return signal strength. So all of the devices have the ability to show you what the RSS data is. And there's a lot of variables. It's more than this call can handle, but it's you know, how far away the tag is, how much energy was harvested, how much it took to turn on the tag, and how much it sends back. And that can be affected by how wet your plants are, or if you have it inside a vehicle, or a plethora of different areas. But if you're looking to read something in a car and you want to, start looking at active tags at about $20 a piece.
Yeah, so Scott, one of the things that we've been seeing lately is that customers actually want to outfit the inside of the car or inside of the van with an RFID reader, and we do that actually. Put a reader in the vehicle, power it up off the vehicle battery, and then connect it to a cellular network via a cellular modem. So we are seeing that. But to your point, to read the tag from the outside of the vehicle would be quite difficult just based on the physics of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I know we're a little bit over, but as promised, what do you guys think we can do in the technology portion of the cannabis industry to promote social equity, diversity, and inclusion moving forward?
Well, if I could start this off, I would say, what we, one of the things we can do are things, like we're doing, right now, and partnering with the medical cannabis community, from a diversity, perspective. I know my organization as well as Zebra, we're very embracive, and I agree. I think a lot more needs to be done, and that's part of the reason why we formulated this partnership is because I want to be able to have a vehicle, so to speak, to where we can speak with an audience that is a diverse audience and people who are looking to get into this industry. And that's also why I'm passionate about helping as many make the right decision the first time, because I know like when you're going up against some of the larger players, you don't have the luxury of being able to say, hey, we'll just rip and replace all of this equipment and order it again. And so that's why I'm as passionate as I am. That's why I'm bringing, getting guys who are also supportive. Bright Map, for example, they've been, talking to Shani about, doing some things independent of this. And, when I talked to Eric and brought this up, he was like, yeah, man, tag me in. So, I think all of our organizations are committed to doing what we can to help, diversity within, this industry and any other.
I'd love to see more emphasis put on going back to high school kids, right? When Dwayne's talking about, we need to embrace more, we need developers. I mean, there are just, when you're in the United States, you need developers. There are just nowhere to find them. They're hard to find and they're few and far in between. And having that diversity and understanding how to develop software. We have an internal joke because most of our developers are under 25 years old. And the internal joke is, we have software developed by kids for kids, right? And it's a pretty true statement. So I'd love to see, how can we reach out and get to younger kids, young girls, people of color. How do we get to people and say there's a wonderful opportunity out there for you in the world developing software, because they are desperately in need. Desperately, we need them.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it's understanding what the different technologies are and their strengths, and being proactive in finding out how you can how you can differentiate yourself from the rest of the market. Really will set you apart from the rest and help you grow. And I think that as long as you don't stay stagnant, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and the final thing I'll say is, I challenge the audience. What are you doing to create diversity within this industry? Where you spend your money says a lot about, what you support. And so as you're visiting these organizations and, you're purchasing the product, pay attention to who's around you and what they're doing in your community, and hold them accountable. At the end of the day, each of us has a role to play in this.
All right. Well, this is a great aspirational note to close this on behalf of Shawnee Williams and Abraham Villegas and the medical cannabis community. We thank the panelists, and we thank the sponsors. And to Dwayne's point, you are accomplishing a dialogue with a diverse audience that heretofore has not been engaged, and we appreciate your partnership. With that, thank you, everybody, and we'll continue the dialogue.
Thank you very much.
Have a good rest of your day, guys. Talk to you soon.